Reimagining Success, episode 46. You're listening to Reimagining Success, the podcast where we help you reimagine your future, designing a life and career beyond the 9 to 5 that allows you the freedom, flexibility and fulfillment that you've been dreaming of. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg. Now, let's get started on those dreams. Hello there, and welcome back to the Reimagining Success podcast. Now, there is a lot going on here, and I'm really excited about what is still to come. Can you believe it? We're well into October now. It was my birthday last week. I celebrated 1 year, not my 1 year birthday, don't worry, neither anniversary, but rather anniversary of my book. So Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5, stories from people who've done it and how you can too. Published on my birthday in 2018, so 3rd of October, if you want to say happy birthday to me next year. So that was 1 year on my birthday, which was fantastic. We spent the week in Mallorca in Spain, which was very nice. And funnily enough, it was a very productive and very relaxing week away, so all good. And now, of course, we are into October. We're getting close to the end of the year. Can you believe it? Let's not rush through the next 3 months, but we do have exactly that, about 90 days, so less than 100 days, 3 months, 12 weeks, whatever you want to call it, to get a head start on 2020, I guess we should say, which is a new decade, not just a new year, but a new decade. So super exciting. Lots still to come this year, but of course, even more things to come next year. And I look forward to you joining me on this ride. Now, in the last few weeks, of course, we had the Corporate Escape Plan workshop over in Facebook, on the Facebook group, One Step Outside. We are going to do this again relatively soon, actually, because I know a lot of you missed it. You've joined the group since then. And some of you, we just didn't quite get through the workshop because it was pretty intense. And, you know, life happens. You were moving and you were changing jobs and countries and all sorts of things. So I want to give you a second chance now to work through that. So keep an eye out for that, the Corporate Escape Plan workshop. As we speak, we're getting started now with the latest round of the One Step Outside the 9 to 5 program. So I opened up again a few weeks ago. Very exciting because I've doubled the length of the program. I've doubled the content, doubled the frequency of calls. So double the results, right? So really excited to have some of you maybe listening to this podcast right now, joining me in that program as well. And of course, if you are still interested in joining, then do get in touch and let me know. You can always reach me at podcast@onestepoutside.com. So what's happening today? Well, I wanted to look at the next step, really. So we talk about leaving your job, leaving the 9 to 5. That's the name of my book. It's One Step Outside the 9 to 5 is the program. So, okay, you've quit your job. You've decided to quit. What on earth happens next? And if you can bear with me, I want to share what happened when I quit my job. And in fact, to some extent, I've quit my job twice. So let me explain. Now, back in 2013, and you may have heard this before, so apologies, but it's important, I think, to share for the insight that it gives you, both in terms of, the experience I've had, and also I think it's very illustrative of what happens to other people and what I've seen in clients and even friends and colleagues over and over. So I initially took a sabbatical in 2013. I think it was, I want to say May, June, July 2013. Halfway through that, I quit. So we're not even going to explore the decision to quit. Let's just assume I have quit. I called up HR and my boss, handed my notice officially, resigned. And I had 2 months of staying, the notice period, I guess. But I'd already handed over my work really before I'd left on sabbatical, so there wasn't so much for me to do. I think if I had been a lesser individual, maybe I wouldn't have bothered to turn up to the office, but I did. I went in for lots of coffees and a few sort of token meetings here and there, but I basically had a month or two minus vacation days and so on. So I made that decision. I quit my job. I thought, woohoo, I got too excited there, woohoo! This is it. I have made the decision, capital T, capital D, and now I'm going to live my best and most fulfilling life. And let me tell you, I had an incredible few months. Hilariously, when I came back from that trip, colleagues asked me, oh, you must be so sad to be back after such a lovely time away. And I said, nope, because I've quit. I'm gone for good. And it felt incredible, let me tell you. And I'm sure you have experienced that too if you have already quit your job. And it was so exciting. And I can't even remember exactly what I did the subsequent months, but I know I had a wedding in New York. So thanks, Stephanie. That was an incredible time. I went to, I want to say, Croatia with my mum. I don't know what else I did. I mean, I traveled all over the place, and I, as you can imagine, was spending my savings very enthusiastically, just sort of enjoying that time off, because as many of us, I hadn't really gone off that so-called conveyor belt in many, many years, in a decade or so, I guess. I did take a gap year after high school before university, but that was 2000, 2001. So I guess, 12 years of non-stop conveyor belt, undergraduate university, postgraduate university, and then that job. So more than 7 years in my marketing role at Procter & Gamble. So, it's when you finally get let loose, you want to make the most of that freedom. And it was an incredible time. However, that freedom soon turned to panic as I realised, hang on, not only don't I have an office to go to, which, yes, is very exciting, I could just travel and read and have a wonderful time, I also didn't have a salary coming into my bank account each month, which, as probably you feel as well, is not the greatest feeling. Yes, the freedom is incredible that you don't have that office, but the lack of salary is often the biggest reason why we don't quit, and certainly something that, hits us eventually. And so what happens then? Well, I went to a number of interviews for other jobs, and I thought, what if I do similar, or not similar, but if I take my experience, I've been heading up the digital team at Procter & Gamble, so what about being head of digital and in fact, I had an interview at a coffee company, at a chocolate company, at a movie company, so that would have been incredible. I know they had a life-size statue of Dobby from Harry Potter at the entrance, which I thought, this is it, this is my dream job. And I even had some of those companies, on my vision board that I initially created when I was exploring what I wanted to do instead. However, when I got down to the final two of one of those roles, I had that panic set in again. I thought, oh my goodness, I do not want this job. And that was what prompted me then to set up my business, which cost, I think, was £11, £12 on the 11th of February 2014 with Companies House in the UK. And I really knuckled down then, okay, I'm going to do this consultancy. Because when I'd quit, I had that vague thought of wanting to run my own business, didn't really know what it entailed, but that was it, sort of. So what's that? I made the decision to quit May, June. Bear with me when I'm counting very slowly here: July, August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb. So 8 months, my goodness, 8 months from making the decision to quit, then a couple of months until I actually left, several months of euphoria, ecstasy, excitement, travel, freedom, bit of panic, applying to jobs, thinking that was it, and then realising, no, hang on a second, that's not what I want to do. Again, making another big decision, B, capital D, and actually creating the business. Now, the reason why I said I've quit twice is because that was fantastic. Of course, I set up my business. It was so exciting. I started blogging about digital marketing. I updated my LinkedIn, and I had another project, which I won't even bring into the chat here because it just complicates matters. But I was very lucky because I had those digital marketing skills and a great network and the Procter & Gamble name, let's be honest, to be recommended by former colleagues and brought into different companies. So big name companies and fantastic roles. And often it was, can you come in for a few weeks to fill this gap, or can you do this little project? And then once I was there, once I had the foot in the door, they asked me to stay, which of course was fantastic. And in fact, I think almost every role I had, they then asked me to stay permanently, which thank goodness no offense to them, but that wasn't what I was there for. And I was able to resist that. So during the next 2 years, I had these great contracts, really enjoyed it, meeting new colleagues, getting new opportunities, bringing to bear my skills and experience and really reapplying those in those different contexts. But more or less, I was doing the same work. I was traveling between contracts, which was incredible. I was earning as much, if not more, as a contractor, freelancer, consultant, whatever you want to call it. And then I was once again pretty much spending it as I traveled. I went that time to Malaysia and I stayed in Marina Bay Sands for a few nights, this incredible hotel with a swimming pool up on the top gazillionth floor, whatever it is. I traveled all around Malaysia, Singapore, Melbourne for some reason. Was I back in Sydney as well, I think? New Zealand, I went to see my friend who was staying in the North Island of New Zealand, and so on. I went paddleboarding on the Mississippi, I flew to Hawaii and spent time in San Francisco, had an incredible time. So once again, I did some pretty amazing things. And that was fantastic. However, I realised, hang on a second, this is not what I quit for. This is too similar, and I'm still doing the so-called 9 to 5, which wasn't 9 to 5. It was overtime generally, and it wasn't quite what I had quit for. It wasn't that freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. So then, as much as you can quit your own business, I sort of quit that and resolved to say no to all the big contracts and leap into the unknown once again. And then I went through what I've called, I'm sure before, my hippie phase, when I just explored and travelled again. And my aunt and I had another few incredible trips. We went Napa Valley, wine tasting and ballooning, hot air ballooning. We flew over the Grand Canyon, went rafting, all sorts of incredible things. And I discovered coaching, and I don't exactly know how I came across it. I think I mentioned to my aunt, I'm considering this, and we decided it would be a great, piece of personal development, if nothing else. It wasn't really that I was considering necessarily it as a business. However, it was a 2-year course. I loved it so much. I finished it in 6 months. I was doing the final oral exams at, I think, 3 a.m. or something over in Hawaii. And then within 6 months, I had my business website up. And once again, I had that woohoo, excitement, euphoria, ecstasy. This is it. I have a business. I'm going to be an incredibly successful coach. And that was, once again, that same kind of experience as I'd had when I first quit my job, that this is going to be amazing. I've made the decision, capital T, capital D. I am now a coach, and this is going to be it. And I did have a few people visiting the website, and I even got a handful of clients at the beginning, which of course was very exciting. But then once again, the months passed without much else happening. And I soon realised again that I was working through my savings at an alarming rate. So I wasn't really taking it seriously as a business, or at least I thought I was. I was very busy. I was consuming all sorts of free content and signing up to every email newsletter I could find, all around how to build my own email sequences. I need to do webinars. I tried to do some videos, this, that, and the other, and not really getting a whole lot of results. And I hadn't really stepped up, I guess, to really look at, okay, these are my goals. This is the time I have. This is how I'm going to go about actually achieving those business roles. I probably did some fancy sort of strategy work and so on. I thought, oh, I have a business. But as it turns out, a website is not a business. Deciding that I'm a coach does not a coach make. So, twice then, I guess, I naively thought that decision of quitting was it. And, it is a massive decision. It's an incredibly courageous decision. It's a big step, but it is only the beginning. And there will be so many more brave decisions, as well as so much more hard work, if we're actually going to truly create an alternative life and career outside of the 9 to 5. So just to extrapolate, I guess, in those two scenarios, and something that I've seen, and you may have seen these fun little sort of roller coaster, well, maybe not so fun, roller coaster or sort of mountains and dips and valleys and things, sort of graphics on social media that show the ups and downs of, for example, being an entrepreneur. And there are so many, and I even came up with my own a few years ago. I should definitely get that briefed in to get a design done. But it's something like, the initial decision of excitement, euphoria. Oh my gosh, I'm free. The world is my oyster. I have all these incredible opportunities ahead of me. I could do anything. And then, next phase, fear, panic, possibly applying to random jobs you don't want, spending a lot of time sort of scattergun approach, I guess, doing a few things one day and then the next day something else. And then, I should do this webinar, and no, that didn't work. And, but I'm doing this. And I contacted 3 people on LinkedIn and they didn't reply. So now I'm a failure. Maybe I should get that job after all, and so on. I think I've done the wrong thing. People around us begin to question us and so on. And then when you come through that tunnel, and often, we always say that the breakthrough is often on the other side of one of those really sort of difficult dips, I guess, because if you can be one of the few people who actually persists through that fear and panic, doesn't resort to applying to those random jobs, going back to the corporate world and so on, but actually decides, I'm going to get down to serious work now. I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to get the help I need and make this happen. Then you are in it for the long game. You are going to make it. And that's, something that I realized really. So most recently, although, it's 2015 now, so not so recently, after I said, I put up the website, and I did work with a coach, who was sort of my level of coach. She was fantastic on a personal level, and we made some big breakthroughs. But it was really when I then stepped up to work with my own business coach, focus on one. I unsubscribed from all the other sort of free stuff that was in my inbox. I really sat down and I said, okay, these are my goals. And I had all these sort of goals in theory in my head, which I hadn't really committed to them, really taken it seriously, and really treated my business as I would treat someone else's business, ironically, So again, I thought, I guess, naively that just declaring to the world that I was a coach was enough, and suddenly I'd be a coach. But of course, as much as I knew that I had these strengths in me since a long time, and I had a lot to give and so on, and I had my personal experience, if nothing else, to share, much more than that is required to actually build a business. And I like to say, and this is a relatively recent realization, I suppose, that there's a lot of me work, internal work, focusing on ourselves at the beginning of the corporate transition, because we need to be selfish. We need to really map out our skills, our strengths, our passions, our desires. What is really important to us? What is it we want to do? What's the mission? What's the cause? What's our bigger purpose? What's our why? And so on. However, when we actually turn that into a business, once we've made that decision, yes, capital T, capital D again, we need to turn outwards. We need to become externally focused and begin to think about, okay, what does a viable business look like? Who is the client who, values my work and can afford me? What prices, packaging, and so on and so on. So, the decision is fantastic. Congratulations if you have made that decision, but it is only the first step. And so that is what we're going to be looking at over the next few weeks. As I said, that phase of actually getting down to serious work. Okay, I've got the idea, I've decided to quit, now what? And so we'll be looking at things like how to start an audience from nothing. That's coming up, in fact, next week on Wednesday over in the Facebook group. So it's a free workshop, 1 hour workshop, a one-step workshop as we call them, how to build an audience from absolutely nothing. So do join us over in the One Step Outside Facebook group for that. How to build credibility, authority, how to create content that's going to bring the right people and convert them, ultimately how to combine marketing, sales, all these things, how to price and package and so on. These are all really important pieces of the puzzle. But I'm very passionate about where we're starting next week around how to start an audience from nothing. So, a little bit of a different episode this week, and maybe a bit of rambling, bit of personal story there. But I wanted to share those two versions of quitting, I guess, that I went through, and many of the mistakes that I made as well, and a bit of that roller coaster as well of the excitement, the freedom, the euphoria, followed by fear and panic, followed by I'm going to do this, persist, push through, and let's get down to serious work. So that's what we're going to do, serious work. But don't worry, we'll make it fun as well. But I look forward to seeing you here next week. Thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Reimagining Success with Anna Lundberg. If you're looking for support and encouragement as you begin to reimagine success in your life, then come on over and join us in the One Step Outside Facebook group. You'll find like-minded people who will cheer you on, as well as free training sessions and lots more. To join, visit onestepoutside.com/community or just search for One Step Outside on Facebook. I'll see you over there.